Hello and welcome to this week's Sunday Sit-Down video. I am Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and in today's video I want to talk about the Kennerspiel Award. It's one of the German gaming awards, one of the big awards for what they call expert level games. So there's the game of the year, then there's the kids game of the year, and then there's these expert level games that are kind of a level up. These aren't the heaviest games in the world, but there's some pretty heavy games on this list. And I'm talking about it today because one of our games, for the first time ever, one of Stonemaier Games games, Wingspan by Elizabeth Hargrave, has been nominated for this big German award. And it was incredible for me to hear that, and I was elated for Elizabeth, for her first published design, to be nominated for this award. Just incredible. It was amazing for me to hear that. And I think we'll know in about a month. Right now I'm recording this on June 30th. I think they announced the winner on July 22nd. But it means a lot just to be nominated, to be considered for this award. And so today I thought I'd go through the past, all the different Kennerspiel games that have either won or been nominated or been recommended. Those are the different levels of the games for the Kennerspiel. And pick my favorite 10 games. And as it happens, these are games that you probably heard me talk about quite a bit, but never on this specific list. And there are some games that I love that definitely aren't on this list because they weren't nominated by the Kennerspiel judges. And so I thought I'll just talk about my top 10 and what I like about these games. And yeah, that's what I'll do today. Let's start out with my number 10, of course. It was close. I had a list of 14 games I really love, and I had to cut 4 to get down to 10, as you do for top 10 list. But my number 10 is Russian Railroads. And Russian Railroads is an engine-building, train-themed game where you're advancing on these different tracks on your board. In the base game, all the boards are the same. In the expansion, all the boards are a little different. And it's one of these games where you are advancing on tracks at different times. So you might advance really far on a track, and in one game, and then another game you might completely ignore that track, and the tracks give you different bonuses. And there's this multiplicative sense of gaining points throughout the game, where you start off in the first round just gaining a few points, but in the last round you might gain 200 points in the last round, and it feels amazing for you to do that. So that's why I love Russian Railroads. My number 9 game, and I do have some visuals for you today, just not for a few of these games. My number 9 game is Terraforming Mars. This is a game not unlike Wingspan that is heavily card-driven by a lot of different unique cards in the game. It's also an engine-building game, a lot of progression to this game. And I'm sure you've heard of it if you're watching this video. It's a very, very, very popular game. And the thing I love about Terraforming Mars, well, there are many different things, but I love the sense of progression in the game, that you start off feeling not so powerful, and by the end of the game you are feeling very powerful. I love that you get to see a lot of cards in the game, but to mitigate the randomness of those cards are the different costs to actually just keep them in your hand, which I thought was really a really cool mechanism to have a card in your hand has a cost itself, so that you can't just have an awesome card that doesn't cost as much to have. It's a game I haven't played in a while, so I don't want to go into too much detail and mess up details about it, but I really, really do enjoy Terraforming Mars. My number 8 game is Orleans. Orleans is a game that's in the U.S. is provided by Tasty Minstrel Games, and it was my first bag building game. I played a bunch of deck building games, but in Orleans you are acquiring workers and putting them in your bag and then drawing them out of your bag and placing them on your own private player mat for action selection. And I think my favorite thing about Orleans is that when you gain, like most of the actions that you take in the game are to gain new workers. But when you do that, not only are you gaining a worker, improving your bag building engine and your action selection engine, but you are also advancing on a track, typically, that corresponds with that worker. So one track gives you an instant reward, might give you money right away. Another track increases the number of workers that you'll draw out of your bag every turn. So some are engine building, some are instant bonuses. And I really like that sense of double bonuses. You've probably seen that in some of my games, that when you do one thing, you get 2 bonuses if you maybe plan ahead for it, or just by default, you get 2 things out of it. And that just feels good. It's a very rewarding sense. And that's why Orleans is my number 8. My number 7 game, this is a tough one because I thought about putting this higher, but it just didn't felt a little odd to do so on this list. Now, my number 7 is Time Stories, and Time Stories is one of my favorite games. It would be higher on my top 10 list of favorite games, but this list just felt very Euro-y. There are a lot of Euro games on this list, and I don't know why. It's my own personal preference. It just didn't feel right to put Time Stories any higher than this, but I do love Time Stories. Time Stories is a game about cooperatively going out and exploring a period of time or a fictional period of time, seeing what you find there, accomplishing a mission. And the thing that I love most about Time Stories, you probably heard me say this if you watch these videos, is that there's this first-person perspective to it. And when you walk into a room with your group of friends, you have to split up and look at different locations in that room because time is precious in this game. And when you do, you don't go off to the side and just read the card out loud, like look at it and show it to everybody and then read the text. Instead, you look at it, whatever's on the back of the card, you read it, and then you put it down, and then you talk to players about it. So it simulates, I think, what would really happen if you and I and someone else walked into a room, investigated different corners of that room, and then convened in the middle to talk about it. It really feels like that. It simulates that really, really well. And that's why Time Stories is my number 7 on this list. My number 6 on this list, here's one that I do have, Terra Mystica. Terra Mystica is... I didn't realize it came out so long ago, but it was a 2013 game. Probably the heaviest game on this list, I would say. Maybe some others might compete with it. And for many, Terra Mystica has been replaced by Gaia Project, but I still love the theme. I love the streamlined nature. Not necessarily streamlined. I just love Terra Mystica more. It's my pick between Gaia Project and Terra Mystica. And what is my favorite thing? I think, okay, so one of my favorite things in Terra Mystica that definitely inspired the design of Scythe is in Terra Mystica, you have this mat that at the beginning of the game you cover with stuff, mostly buildings. And as you build different buildings throughout the game, you are removing things from that mat and improving your income. And there are different paths that you can take on the mat depending on what type of income you want. And every time you build a building, you have to replace one that's already on the board. So you're putting one down, but also picking one back up and putting back on your mat. So there's this push and pull element of what types of resources on my mat do I want to uncover, and which ones do I want to recover or stay covered for the time being. I really, really love that about Terra Mystica. You've probably seen it in many games now, but it really wasn't all that prevalent before Terra Mystica. I think Hans and Teutonica may have beat Terra Mystica to the punch a little bit with that, but I might have that date wrong as well. One of the first. That's number 6, Terra Mystica. My number 5 game on this Kennerspiel list is another one that I have, Seven Wonders Duel. Both Seven Wonders and Seven Wonders Duel were nominated for this award. I think Seven Wonders won. Seven Wonders Duel did not. And so I kind of picked between the two of them. I think Seven Wonders Duel is my preference. I love both games, but I found that Seven Wonders can be a little tricky to teach because there's a lot of information that you need to know to really fully understand the game. Whereas if you're playing Seven Wonders Duel, it's actually just a little bit easier to teach. And if you've already played Seven Wonders, it's even easier to teach. And I love the layout on the board here. I can show you on the back of the box. At the beginning of each round, you organize the cards like this. And on your turn, you must pick up a card. And whenever you pick up a card, you end up revealing or at least exposing the cards that it was touching. So like once I pick up this card, the next player and me will have access to these cards that it's currently blocking. So I love this sense of whatever I take might help you, but I need to take this to expose this card that I need access to. And it also goes the other way around. Whenever you are taking a turn in this 2-player game, you might be picking something up that exposes something that I really want. And I love that some of them are face down, too, so it's a surprise. You don't necessarily know what you were going to uncover. That's my favorite thing about Seven Wonders Duel. My number, what was that? Number 5. My number 4 game I do not own. This is the Quacks of Quedlinberg. This is, I think, the newest one on this list. Yeah, 2018 was it won in 2018. And Quacks is a push your luck game, another bag building game like Orleans. Maybe I should design a bag building game given how much I love these games. And Quacks, you are building this bag of potions and pushing your luck as you draw those potions out of your bag. There is some luck and randomness there, but you have a lot of... It is fully in your control as to whether or not you draw these tokens out. And there are many different tokens and different abilities and things that happen throughout the game that can help you mitigate that luck of the draw a little bit. But there's still very much that push your luck element. And I have a lot of fun with it. And the thing I love about Quacks in particular is that even if you bust in Quacks, so even if you draw too much of the, I'm forgetting the blanking on the name of it, but there's a certain type of token that you don't want to draw if you draw too many of it. If you draw too many of it and you bust, you still get something at the end of, or within that round. You either get points or you get currency to spend that round. And so it presents an interesting decision throughout the game. Like early in the game, obviously, you're going to take the currency and spend it. But later in the game, it gets harder and harder to make that decision. Do you gain a bunch of points so that you can push towards winning, or do you continue to build your engine just so you can be a little bit better in the next round or the next 3 rounds? There's this tipping point there in Quacks. But I really just like that you get to choose something if you bust. If you don't bust, you get both of those benefits, which was a lesson to me for sure as I was designing another game about push your luck games, that they can be much more satisfying if you still get something even when you bust. And that's why Quacks of Quedlinberg is my number 4 on this Kennerspiel list. My number 3 is from one of my favorite designers. This is Isle of Skye. This has been a steadfast game in my collection since Geekway years ago. Let's see, it came out in 2016, so it must have been in 2016 that I played this. And I just adore this game. This is it has one of my favorite mechanisms in the game, which is I price, you choose. And I love in this game that all players are doing that simultaneously. You have a few different tiles out in front of you, and you are pricing each of them. And other players have the chance to buy those tiles from you. Or if no one buys them, you must buy them. So if you have priced something really high to prevent other players from buying it, you have to pay a really high price to keep it. I love that element of Isle of Skye. I also love just the little mini kingdom, the isle that you're building throughout the game. It's very satisfying. But that I price you choose mechanism is definitely my favorite in this game. That is Isle of Skye, my number 3. My number 2, and really all these games are really good. I'd probably these top 5 definitely could have shifted around a bit. But Clank is my number 2. I continue to, I'm just like a kid when I play Clank. I just have a lot of fun with this game. This is well, it says in the box, it's a deck building adventure. And I enjoy deck building games. As you can see on this list, I love bag building games too. But I love in Clank that a core element of the game is that you are using a certain resource in the game, kind of that shows up on the cards, this movement resource, to actually move your meeple down this dungeon and grab stuff along the way, and then move the meeple back. There's this tie of the deck building and the progression you get from deck building to the different paths that you can take for your meeple to take throughout this dungeon that is just very satisfying for me. I mentioned something similar to this with Russian railroads, and that these different tracks that you might progress really far in one track and not another. Clank doesn't really have that, but it does have paths that you take. So you're committing to a certain path at different times and saying, okay, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to go for this path. It might hurt me a little bit. I might slow down at a certain part, but I'm going to go for it. And it's going to feel a lot different the next time I play this game because based on the cards I draw early in the game, I'm probably going to take a different path. So I really, really like that path element of Clank. My number 2. That's my number 2. And finally, my number 1 is one of the heaviest games on the list, one of the longest games on the list, Tzolkin. I adore this game. I continue to gravitate back to it as one of probably my go-to heavy Euro. It is just, it has this brilliant time mechanism where you're placing workers on these gears and deciding how long you want those workers to stay on those gears, because the longer they stay, the better the stuff they get, the better the benefit they get when you pull them off those gears. Maybe there have been other games that have had this mechanism, but I think Tzolkin is the only one that I'm fully aware of. There are other games that definitely use time as a resource. But Tzolkin and his gears, really nothing has even come close to surpassing it. And to the point that I have loved the gears so much that I have tried to design a game with gears, but I haven't come even close to designing a game as good as Tzolkin with those gears. And so I just haven't even tried. Tzolkin's out there if people want it. I still want it. I still want to play it. And I just absolutely love it. And that's why that is my favorite, my number 1 favorite expert game, my favorite Kennerspiel nominee. I don't think it actually won, surprisingly, but it's definitely at the top of my list. So those are my top 10 Kennerspiel winners, nominees, and recommended games. I'm going to post a link below, if I can find where I put that link. I'm going to put it in the video below, the description below. So if you want to go and look at these past nominees, you can see the winners at the top, and the winners aren't included in the nominees. So you kind of have to look at both of them, look at the full list to see what games are out there. And if you want to pick your top 3 and share them in the comments below. I'd love to hear your top 3 Kennerspiel winners, nominees, and recommended games. Pick from that entire list for your top 3. All right, thanks for joining me today. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Take care.